video, I'm going to teach you the 10 best weapons to use in the DMZ for your insured weapon loadouts. Finely tuned weapons with the gunsmith attachments that you need in order to take down that pesky AI, but also to give you the best competitive edge against real players. So let's get straight into it, with our first weapon being the absolute gold tier weapon that you should all be running right now. You've used it 100 times over from AI dropping them, but this is going to be the perfectly tuned long-range gold tier RPK. This build is going to be incredible for short-range gunfights, medium range, and extremely long range. This RPK build will do it all. Jumping in, we're going to have the Polarfire S muzzle, the FTAC Ripper underbarrel, the Demo X2 rear grip, the heavy support stock, and the AIM OP V4 optic. So the tuning on the muzzle is we're going to set the left to favor recoil smoothness at 0.45 and bullet velocity at 0.52. Jumping over to the FTAC Ripper, we're going to tune it again up 0.54 for recoil stabilization and 0.17 for aiming idle stability. Going over to the rear grip, we're going to tune it so it's favorable for aim down sight speed at minus 0.65 and then for aiming idle stability at 0.23. The heavy support stock, we're going to tune it at 1.94 minus for the aim down sight speed and plus 1.432 for aiming idle stability. And for the optic, we're going to tune it at minus 1.55 for aim down sight speed and 0.165 minus for the eye position, so it's a far position. As you can see, putting this thing in the firing range, you have very little visual recoil, and it's incredibly good up close and at mid-range, which is really important, something which you wouldn't expect an LMG to do, being so good up close. But as you can see, it's incredibly accurate with very little recoil. It's only when you get to that far distance that it's a little bit more noticeable, but it's still very easy to control. And the RPK is such a common gun to find dropped by the AI inside of DMZ, so you're very regularly going to be using that, but that is only got 30 bullets in a mag. But with this, we're not adding a magazine onto it, but we're going to have 75 bullets to use in a magazine, which is great for taking out entire teams of 3 if you need to without having to reload. And this thing is just so hard hitting from a very far distance, which makes this one of the best overall guns to run in DMZ, period. Like I said, snipers are very, very good, but if you don't want to run a sniper, then this is definitely the best alternative to run. Topic of snipers, let's jump into my 2 absolute favorite snipers for DMZ, who's been the SPX80 and the Victus XMR. Rapid fire through these attachments, so we're picking the nil sound 90 muzzle. It's going to be suppressed, so it's going to keep the AI from being alerted to our shots, and it's also going to increase the damage range. And we're going to tune this so it's minus 63 on the left and then 0.9 on the right for bullet velocity. We're going to put on the FSSOLEV laser. For the stock, we're going to put the PVZ 890 tac, and we're going to tune it so on the left it is minus 4, and then on the right we're going to put it to plus 1.39. The ammunition is going to be the high velocity magazine, and we're going to tune it to 0.54 on the left and then 3.77 on the right for that bullet velocity. And then we're going to add the FSS ST87 bolt. Altogether, this thing is an absolute monster, and let me show you why. And the most important thing with snipers to me in this game especially is that you want something that's going to snap really quickly if you get into a situation where AI starts shooting at you, or if you're being sniped by other real players. You want to be able to very quickly get into that situation, and this sniper will help you do that. Now, I do also really like the Signal 50 and the Victus XMR as snipers, but I feel like the ADS on them is still just a little bit too slow in my opinion. This thing has the best of all of what you'd want a sniper to be, being that fast ADS. They've got the fast mobility with this thing as well. And in this specific example here, I spawned right near another team of 3, and if I didn't have this sniper, I don't think I'd be able to have gotten myself out of the situation as I did. I should get a really quick snipe very quickly off and get a quick down. But something important to know about snipers in DMZ is that they share the same attributes as Warzone 2. So if a player has 2 armor plates or less, there'll be a 1-shot headshot to down. But if they have 3 plates, you're going to have to shoot them twice in the head, one to break that armor and another to down them. But with this build right here, this increases all of the max attributes of what you want the sniper to have, being able to have that incredible bullet velocity and damage range, whilst being very easy to use, and something which I think you should all be rocking as your primary weapon along with an SMG or an AR. And if you have that second insured slot, then you should be putting a different weapon along with this sniper. For the Victus XMR, this is going to be really important that you have this specific optic unlocked, the Raptor FEM40. You need to get this thing to rank 28 in order to get it. This thing has 13 times magnification, and it essentially makes you one of the most accurate snipers in the DMZ. We're going to pair this with the MAC 33.5 super barrel, and we'll tune this this to 0.4 on the recoil steadiness and minus 0.4, so we got faster aim down sight speed. Stock, we're going to put on the XRK Rise 50, and we'll tune that for this to be more towards aim down sight speed, then up for aiming idle stability. Then for muzzle, we're going to put on the Bruin Counter Ops. For the tune, we're going to go all the way on bullet velocity, then minus 0.8 for aim down sight speed. And for ammo, we're going to put on the 50 cal high velocity, and we're going to tune that so we got all the way on bullet velocity and then all the way down for recoil smoothness. Taking this thing into the firing range, you can just see how deadly this thing is for insane ranges on DMZ. And whilst this XMR is definitely a little bit slower between shots than the SPX80, it makes up for in its incredible damage across range, and with this particular scope on it, makes this the absolute deadliest sniper in all of DMZ, because this has a particularly broken effect that allows you to lock on the precise meters that a target is away, so the gun can automatically have the bullet drop at the perfect measurement, so you can always get a very accurate shot. Take this clip for an example here. I've spawned by terminal, and I know that another team spawns on the opposite side. I can see some movement here, so I lock on the exact measurement of how far that player is, and in one shot, I completely down them. Now, of course, they don't have full armor plates, but how ridiculous is that to be that accurate within one shot? Like, it's crazy. You can see that you can hold to focus it, but then also if you click it in, it sets the range, so it will always be accurate with that bullet drop. It's just a super fun sniper to use, and paired this with a SMG, you've got a really deadly loadout for DMZ. But if you want something that's just got a bit more mobility that isn't the RPK, then the TAC 56 is going to be the one for you. So for the muzzle, we're going to go ahead and put on the Komodo heavy muzzle, and we're going to tune this bad boy all the way up on recoil stabilization to 0.8, and for gun kick control at 0.35. We're going to put on the 17.5 Tundra barrel, and we're going to tune this thing so up on the recoil steadiness and up on the damage range. For the underbarrel, we're going for the FTAC Ripper 56. It's just so good and so versatile. We're going to put the aiming idle stability all the way up and the recoil stabilization all the way up. And for ammunition, we're going to go for high velocity to increase that bullet velocity, which is so important in DMZ. We're going to up that bullet velocity to 0.9, and then the damage range all the way up to 0.7. And for the magazine, we're going to put on a 60 round magazine. This will give you the best low recoil TAC 56, plus also being very hard hitting and very easy to use. Now, sometimes when you're playing DMZ, you might not want to run an RPK or a sniper rifle. You just want something that feels a little bit more as like if you're playing multiplayer. You might not always want to run something heavy that might affect your movement speed like the RPK, and the TAC 56 is the perfect middle ground. Some of you might just want to use a gun that is incredibly easy to use, and you know that you'll have some success with it, and the TAC 56 won't let you down. And moving on to one of my favorite weapons to use for close quarters PvP, which is an absolute monster and nothing can really beat it, is the FENNEC SMG. This thing is just absolutely insane. So let's gunsmith this thing up. For the muzzle, we're going to go ahead and put on the X10 RR40, which is the first muzzle you get, and we're going to tune this thing to 0.46 for recoil smoothness and then 0.35 for bullet velocity. Then going to go ahead and put on the VLK laser, which is just an absolute monster, which will increase the ADS. For the stock, we're going with the FTAC Loctite. And for the tuning, we're going to put this at minus 3.74, so it's favoring getting faster aim down sight speed. And then for the aiming idle stability, we're going to go for 0.23. For the magazine, we're going to pop on the 45 round mag, so we have the max amount of bullets to put into enemies. And then we're going to go for the shark fin underbarrel. We're going to tune that to 0.31, so we've got a bit of recoil stabilization. And then we're going to go 0.23 for aiming idle stability. Now, there's no denying, when this thing is in front of you, you are not winning. Simply put. So I would absolutely have this as your second insured weapon if you don't want to run the Riot Shield and you just want to have something for those up close battles. As you see in this clip, I wipe an entire team of 3 with the FENNEC with very little difficulty at all. This thing is just that good. You hear someone on proxy chat, you get a UAV, an advanced UAV going, and it's game over for them. They just aren't winning. It's also got a pretty fast reload speed as well, considering you're adding that 45 round mag, but it just shoots so fast, you just need all the bullets you can get. Now, this next one is going to take you guys by surprise, but if you've done all the tier 3 missions, you will have unlocked a second insured weapon slot. And for me, it's a no-brainer what your second insured weapon slot should be if you choose any of the previous weapons that we've shown you, and that is going to be to run the Riot Shield. That's right, the Riot Shield. You can really be that guy in DMZ, and when it comes to AI shooting you from behind, this is going to be invaluable because right now there is no way to get the Riot Shield apart from putting it on from your insured loadout slot. So I would absolutely advise you to run the Riot Shield if you have that second slot handy, because man, this is going to save your life in a lot of situations. Even if you wanted to go and take out the Juggernaut, you could literally just have the Riot Shield out in front of you and you can eat up all of the Juggernaut's bullets for as long as you want. And then when he's taking that momentary break, you could just put in all the ammo in the world into him and then rinse and repeat. As far as using it as an actual weapon, I don't think you'll have a lot of success with it, but in this scenario, if you're doing a contract where a ton of AI is spawning, especially if you're playing solo like I am here, then this shield was invaluable for keeping me alive. And if you are running the DMZ on solo, then a shield will definitely be a very sensible option for that tier 2 insured slot. Better still, if you like jumping into DMZ with nothing but your bare fists and try and find weapons to use, then definitely use the Riot Shield. And whatever else you find, you can use that as your main gun. Now, the next really good weapon to use inside of DMZ is actually going to be one of the battle rifles, the SO14. Take this into the gunsmith. These are the attachments we're going to be running. We're going to be using the ZLR Talon 5 muzzle, the 22-inch Ballmaster barrel, the FFSO LEV laser, the VLK 4.0 optic for that magnification, and the lock grip precision 40. Now for tuning, we're going to go to the muzzle and we're going to increase this all the way for bullet velocity and then also for aim down sight speed. For the underbarrel, we're going to move it all the way for aim down sight speed, but we're not going to touch the left side. Over to the barrel, we're going to increase the damage range on this and then also increase the recoil steadiness. For the VLK optic, we're going to change the eye position so that it is close, and we're also going to up the flinch resistance. Now if we take this into the firing range, you can see this thing has very little visual recoil by the looks of it, so you can get your shots on pretty darn straight, and it only takes a few bullets to take down bots from a close distance and even a medium distance like you can see here. Now if you do want to, you can also put this in fully auto, although I wouldn't really recommend it because the recoil is just too ridiculous. But in semi-auto, you get some shots on, going to be really effective against those bots and enemies. And I'd say this is definitely an underrated weapon category that you don't really see used a lot in Modern Warfare 2, but fits right at home for DMZ when it comes to all those bots. The next gun on my list here is the Bryson 890 shotgun, and this thing is so much fun to use in DMZ. It's amazing for bots, especially for Riot Shielders, as well as real players. So for this, we're going to have the SA Schweigen DX muzzle. I'm going to tune it up here for bullet velocity. I'm going to use the 21.5 Bryson tac fire barrel. We're going to tune that to max the damage range on it. I'm going to put on the FJX Ultrabeam XR laser so that we get a faster sprint to fire speed. We're going to put on the 12 gauge slug rounds, and we're going to tune it for bullet velocity and damage range. And the guard, we're going to put the Demo X50 tactical pump. If we go into the firing range quickly, this gun's going to be best when you aim down sights, but here we go. One-shot headshot from that range. Go over here. Practically a one-shot headshot from that range as well. Incredibly deadly. Let's go a bit further back. Easy two-shot there. You can even potentially even get a headshot from this distance. There we go. We got it. Insane. Let's have it set so it's got 8 bullets in a magazine. We've got some pretty decent movement with this as well. This thing is just an absolute monster. Now, there are a ton of weapons in DMZ that you can use beyond what we've just mentioned in this video that are also going to be incredibly useful, but we'll have them as honorable mentions, with one of them being the Kastov 7.62, which bridges the gap between an AR and an LMG. Another very good long-range weapon, and for this, we're going to put on the Polar Fire S muzzle, and for the tuning, we're going to put this up to 0.47. Then for bullet velocity, we're going to increase it to 0.51. For the barrel, we're going for the KAZ-10 584mm, which will make this feel more like an RPK. We'll up this to 0.26 on the recoil steadiness, and then 0.16 damage range. Ultimate, we're going for the AIM OP V4, and we're going to tune this so that it's a very close position. And we'll also put this to -1.57 to favor aim down sight speed. Magazine, we'll put on a 40 round mag, and for underbarrel, the FTAC Ripper 56. The tuning being 0.55 for recoil stabilization and 0.17 for aiming idle stability. It's in the firing range. You can see already that this looks and feels like an RPK, but with an AR sort of characteristic. You get that increased movement speed. This thing is so devastatingly heavy hitting that I just really, really like it. RPK may still be a better choice, but undeniably fun to use. But if you're looking for an alternative SMG that is not the FENNEC, then the Lachman Sub is going to be the one for you. For the muzzle, we're going to put on the X10 RR40, and we'll tune this to 0.45 for recoil smoothness and 0.35 for bullet velocity. The barrel, we'll put in the FTAC M Sub 12, and we'll put this to 0.21 and then 0.27 for damage range. You already know we're going to be putting on the laser for that ADS, the 1 milliwatt quick fire. Rear grip, we'll put on the Lachman TCG 10, and we'll tune this to 0.32 on recoil steadiness and 0.17 for aiming idle stability. And for magazine, we'll chuck on a 50 round drum. Now, it doesn't matter if it's against AI or if it's against real players, this thing will absolutely annihilate. And you can see the recoil isn't even that bad considering how far down we're shooting. You can see it's got very little visual recoil. The thing is an absolute monster and it's easily one of the most reliable subs. If you're in any engagement where the AI or real players might be a little bit of a distance away where the FENNEC won't hit, that this will. So jumping into it, your loadout is just as important as the weapon you pick. And this is really important for solo players, but you're going to want to have the right tactical, lethal, and field upgrades on. If you're running solo, I highly advise you use the spotter scope, as it's basically a free sniper rifle with no glint, thermal sights, and you can ping enemies from super far away. If you're going to run with a sniper, then maybe go with a stim. That way, if the AI are being reckless, then at least you can stim up and re-heal really quickly. And for lethals, I like to go with a Semtex or a thermite. When it comes to field upgrades, I always run the munitions box as it's just so useful. But if you're a solo player, you might also want to consider the deployable cover. And I mean, it speaks for itself why this might come in handy. Like I said, there is a lot of other weapons that are very viable inside the DMZ that you're going to find pretty often and won't let you down. Some of these include the Vaznev 9K as a close range SMG. The Rao MG can also be a very good LMG for putting lots of damage from a really far distance. The TAC V is also an incredible weapon that I've found. And I also really enjoy the MCPR 300 sniper, although I just feel the other two that we've showcased are just a little bit stronger in their attributes compared to it. Beyond the weapons we've spoken about, there are a ton that you can use in DMZ that are all viable, fun options to use, but these are the ones that when tuned are going to give you the most competitive edge when it comes to those pesky players trying to take you out at the exfil. Be sure to leave a like rating on your way out. Let me know what guns you've found really good to use in DMZ if I've not mentioned it already, as I'll be reading the comments of this video. And again, to keep yourself updated with more DMZ, be sure to subscribe.